The NFL coaching merry-go-round is cranking up once more, with the Tennessee Titans' sudden dismissal of Brian Callahan kicking off what could be a wave of firings. If you're a football fan bracing for more upheaval, buckle up. Here's a closer look at 6 head coaches who might be sweating bullets as the 2025 season barrels toward its end with just 12 weeks to go. But here's where it gets controversial. Is it fair to judge a coach's job security solely on early season struggles, or should teams show more patience? We'll dive into the details, breaking down the stats and stories for even the newest fans to follow along easily. Starting with Mike McDaniel of the Miami Dolphins, let's cut to the chase. It's pretty much done and dusted for him. It's just a waiting game until the axe falls. After a disastrous loss where they squandered a lead in the fourth quarter against the Los Angeles Chargers, Miami's record stands at a dismal 1-5. Their performance metrics are downright ugly after 6 games, ranking a lowly 28th in offensive success rate. That's a key stat measuring how effectively they move the ball, and this is supposed to be McDaniel's strong suit. On the flip side, their defense is even worse, sitting at 31st in EPA per play, which stands for expected points added, a fancy way to quantify how much a team's plays contribute to scoring opportunities. Adding to the drama, quarterback Tua Tagovailoa, who's already tossed the 3rd most interceptions in the league this year, 7 in total, publicly called out his teammates for skipping player-only meetings right after Sunday's defeat. When your QB is airing grievances in a post-game presser, it screams a loss of locker room control. McDaniel's track record doesn't help. He's a sorry 3-15 against teams above 500 going into the matchup. Owner Stephen Ross has canned coaches mid-season before, so he might not hold out until year's end. And this is the part most people miss. Could keeping McDaniel around actually hurt the team's future? Or is it worth riding out the storm for potential turnaround? Thermometer: fiery, out of 5. Next up, Jonathan Gannon with the Arizona Cardinals. At 2-4 as we head into Week 7, the season is rapidly fading into oblivion for them. The rest of the NFC West is cruising at a combined 12-6, making playoff hopes for the Cards feel like a long shot. Gannon stirred up major trouble after their Week 5 defeat to the Titans when he appeared to strike running back Emari Demercado over a costly fumble. Owner Michael Bidwill slapped him with a $100,000 fine, a clear red flag for his standing in the organization. At 42, he's hailed as a defensive whiz, but under his leadership since 2023, Arizona's D is dead last in success rate. His overall coaching ledger shows 14-26 in 40 games, with no playoff nods. Bidwill might hit eject if there's no miracle comeback. Here's a controversial twist. Does a one-off incident like this warrant dismissal, or should we focus more on overall team performance metrics? Thermometer: fire. Zac Taylor of the Cincinnati Bengals is another name to watch. Despite his contract running through 2026 and the team's reputation for frugality, could they just let it expire and try again? Absolutely possible, but Taylor should definitely be eyeing the exit door. The Bengals are 2-4, having dropped 4 straight, and without star QB Joe Burrow, the offense is a total wreck. They've slid to 32nd in EPA per dropback since Week 3, meaning their passing game isn't creating the scoring chances it should. Taylor's play calling feels stale, and as the offensive coordinator, he's expected to innovate. He's already swapped out defensive coordinators, bringing in Al Golden to replace Lou Anarumo, but it hasn't turned things around. Cincinnati's defense is 30th in points allowed per game, while Anarumo's thriving in Indianapolis. With a backup QB at the helm, winning's tough, and Taylor's 48-56-1 record over 7 seasons suggests it's time for Burrow to get a fresh start in 2026. But here's where it gets controversial. Is it ethical to tie a coach's fate to one player's injury, or should the system as a whole be held accountable? Thermometer: fire to fire. Brian Daboll with the New York Giants brings a glimmer of hope. Victories fix everything in the NFL, and they've taken 2 of their last 3. including a crushing of the defending champs. Rookie QB Jackson Dart is looking every bit the franchise anchor, and Giants fans must be buzzing. Yet, plenty of football remains in the 2025 season. Daboll started the year on thin ice, and it's still simmering. They face one of the league's toughest remaining schedules. At 50, his 4-year stint shows 20-36-1, with an 11-29 mark in his last 40 games. His future hinges on Dart. Will the brass trust him to nurture this young talent, or opt for a change in direction? And this is the part most people miss. In a league where rookie QBs can transform teams overnight, is Daboll's experience worth betting on, or could a new voice unlock even more potential? Thermometer. Fire. John Harbaugh of the Baltimore Ravens is in familiar territory. As many foresaw, they're 1-5, and if it wrapped up now, they'd snag the 3rd pick in next April's draft. Lamar Jackson's missed last 2 games due to injury hasn't aided matters. But Baltimore was already at 1-4 before his Chiefs game setback. The squad's struggling across the board, and much of that blame lands on Harbaugh. Their defense, in particular, is a shambles, bottom-ranked in EPA per rush as we approach Week 7. They've dug a deep pit, risking a disastrous campaign. GM Eric DeCosta shares some fault for roster moves, but he's staying put. If someone pays for missing the playoffs, it might be the 63-year-old Harbaugh, whose 3-6 postseason record since Jackson took over in 2018 is underwhelming. Perhaps his Baltimore chapter is closing. Controversial take: should a legendary coach like Harbaugh get a pass because of his history? Or does the modern NFL demand fresh blood regardless of past glories? Thermometer. Finally, Aaron Glenn of the New York Jets. Following last week's atrocious London debacle, he's firmly in the hot seat. Questionable calls during key moments doomed them, and their offense delivered the year's worst unit performance by far. Glenn's debut as head coach is a brutal 0-6, making the Jets the only winless team in the league. At 53, he helped build Detroit's stellar defense as their coordinator, but New York's ranks 28th in EPA per play and points allowed. He deserves a couple of years to steer this ship, but his first 6 games have been a letdown. Owner Woody Johnson, notorious for impulsive moves, might cut bait after 1 season to pair a future QB from April's draft with a new coach. But here's where it gets controversial. In an era of instant gratification, should teams gamble on rebuilding with patience, or is it smarter to shake things up early to avoid long-term mediocrity? Thermometer. Fireworks. There you have it, a lineup of coaches navigating turbulent waters in the NFL. What do you think? Do any of these firings feel inevitable, or is there hope for redemption? Should teams prioritize metrics over loyalty, or vice versa? Share your takes in the comments. I'd love to hear agreements, disagreements, or your own hot takes on who might surprise us.